Hey, everybody, what's happening? I forgot what I was going to say right at the outset of the show. So, obviously, we're off to a thrilling start here on this Thursday morning. Back-to-back episodes of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball coming up for your eardrums. I'm Dan Besbris. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Besbris. You can find me on Blue Sky at Old Man Squad and on Instagram at Old Man Squad Fantasy. Please take a moment to hit that like button if you're watching with us here on the YouTubes. Subscribe, please, however you're taking in the content. And again, big fat thank you to everybody on Apple and Spotify that's been dropping those 5-star reviews. Those have been extraordinarily important. This show is brought to you by our buddies at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. They have this as well, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and MMA. Head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. Let's begin the show with my nightly top 5. Number 5, Elfrid Payton is back in the NBA. Yeah, obviously little hit or miss, but he did have 11 points, 5 boards, and 8 assists to go along with 4 turnovers. This is a game where Brandon Ingram was either resting or out. Trey Murphy was resting, so they do have more bodies than what we saw in this one. But the Pelicans are not that many losses away from a lost season. They're supposed to get their guys back soon, but treading water has been incredibly uncomfortable and almost impossible for them. So let's keep an eye on this. There's other stuff in that game that we'll cover as well. Number 4, Ty Jerome, again with a sneaky one-game injury play. He was filling in for Darius Garland in this one and had 29 points and a blistering 20-plus. I think he had 27 at halftime. And then the Cavs went to all backups after that because this game was over early with the aforementioned Pelicans. Number 3, Paul George hyperextending. Can you even do that? The same knee. That is not good. He'll be out, I would assume, for probably about a month. The Sixers are a bit snake bit, although getting Tyrese Maxey back, he'll get himself sort of up to speed. And then they should be able to take on some middling teams. And the beauty of the Eastern Conference is that you can be bad and still be totally fine in terms of playoff stuff. The Sixers are 2-12, and they're only like 3 games out of a play-in spot. They'll be fine. All they got to do is rattle off like a 4 or 5 game winning streak at some point. So I would not expect the Sixers to think about shutting anybody down. They'll just tread water and they'll be okay. But in the meantime, Jared McCain looks like he's going to get a nice chunk of run here because it looked like things were about to get tight for him. And then down goes another star. Number 2, Joel Embiid from that same ball game, looking a little bit more like himself. He played 35 minutes last night in their loss in Memphis, had 35 points, 11 rebounds, got to the free throw line 14 times. Y'all can hate his game. That's fine. I don't care. I don't much care for his reality basketball game either, since he's gone full foul baiting. But he's good. And we've way overcorrected on Joel Embiid. And I want to come back to him because he's like one of the main topics on today's show. And the other main topic, number 1 on the nightly top 5, Isaiah Hartenstein is back, and he didn't waste any time. Played 28 and a half minutes in his first game back, doubled with 4 blocks. This is just the tip of the iceberg, man. This dude, we saw it last year with the Knicks, and he took 12 shots in this game. That never happened in New York. This dude is going to put up monster numbers. I don't think that second round is out of the question while Chet Holmgren is out. Yeah, like we're talking top 25 type of potential for Hartenstein, provided he can replicate the, closer to 70% foul shooting that we saw last year. I don't, maybe that's a number that fluctuates a little bit, but double-double is very well within reach because they don't have anybody else on that team that can rebound. Steals, blocks, assists. They're going to be using him as a hub at times. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Enjoy the ride. But let's get back to Joel Embiid for just a minute before we get into the box score recap from yesterday. And then there were some other things that we want to go over. But the big thing is I think we, as a fantasy universe, have way overcorrected on Joel Embiid. And this is why he was on our Buy Low show a couple days ago. And strange thing is, even after this big ball game, people still don't want him because for any variety of reasons, they don't like his game. They don't like his attitude. They think the Sixers are going to go into shutdown mode. They think they don't like the fact that he's going to sit back-to-backs. There's all these reasons, some of them more reasonable than others. Like, I get it. Head-to-head, he's a little bit of a pain at times because I would say you don't know when he's going to sit, but you know exactly when he's going to sit. You have Philly's schedule in front of you. You can look it up. Philly has another back-to-back on December 3rd and December 4th. That's their next one. They have a 2-game week coming up as well, so not the greatest. Although this week is fine. They play Friday, Sunday. No back-to-backs there. Here's the thing. Mathematically, and this is a hard hurdle to get over because it doesn't seem like it would be the case. But mathematically, Joel Embiid, and let's say that at full tilt this season, and it does seem like it again because Paul George is out, so it's like the same dynamic as last year right now. At full tilt, Joel Embiid is a top 5 fantasy player. I'm being, I think, fairly conservative in that number because at full tilt, he was number 1 last year. I don't know if anybody's getting over Nikola Jokic right now, but I think it's pretty easy to put him in the top 3. Top 5 is almost a virtual guarantee when he's like playing a full game. If we can all agree on that premise, then the next thing is look at guys in the top 5 over I don't care how many years and compare them to guys in the top 40 range. I shouldn't say top 40 range. Just compare them to guys in the 40 range. And this topic that needed to get talked about on today's show hit my brain because someone on Twitter was like, I'd rather have the guy ranked 40th who plays 70 games over Embiid, who's going to play a third less. So a third, we're basically talking about 20-ish, give or take, games less. Here's the thing. You can look at the math straight up from last year on Joel Embiid, and you can actually see that that doesn't turn out to be the case. Last season, Joel Embiid played in 39 ball games, which, of course, is a number that you definitely don't want to see again. But he blew out his knee completely and missed basically half a season. And the hope this year is that they're going to keep him out of injury trouble by having this very slow ramp up and resting back-to-backs and all that stuff. So that's the goal. Will it happen? I don't know, but that's the goal. Last year, Karl-Anthony Towns, and please don't take this as me comparing him to Cat this year, because Cat in New York is a very different monster than Cat playing power forward in Minnesota. But last year, Cat was ranked in the early 40s per game and played in 23 more games than Joel Embiid. Do you guys know who was ranked higher by totals last year? It was Joel Embiid. And that's a big gap. You are basically saying, if I'm not willing to give up a 40 range guy for Embiid, you're basically saying, I'm guaranteeing that the guy I'm keeping, my 4th rounder, is going to play 25 games or more than Joel Embiid from yesterday through the end of the season. Because it no longer matters in a trade scenario that Embiid already missed 10 games before making his season debut, or whatever it was. I think it was around 10. Was it 11? Doesn't matter. I think it was 10, and then he had a back-to-back off. Again, doesn't really matter. That's what you guys have to remember. It doesn't matter what already happened. It matters what happens between now and the end of the season. And right now, the 76ers have played 14 of their 82 games. They have 68 games left. And if you're looking at a guy in the 40 range this year, I don't know who the hell that might be. I threw Jalen Johnson out there because that was a trade that I saw happen. And like almost universally, people were like, I want Jalen Johnson. And I get it. But that's a complete ignoring of percentages, by the way, where Embiid is going to throttle Jalen Johnson this year. And it's ignoring the fact that Jalen Johnson missed a bunch of games last season. But just look at the other guys around 40. Freddie VanVleet, Jalen Johnson, OG Anunoby, LeBron, although that's a sort of a weird defensive statistical downturn right now. Bam Adebayo is in there as well. These are guys that Pascal Siakam, I'm not going to put Cam Johnson in there because that won't get it done. These are guys that are almost like 100% being held over Joel Embiid in trade discussions. But these are guys that are also going to need to play like 20 additional games over Embiid between now and the end of the season. And maybe that happens. Like you go through and count up the back-to-backs for Philly, and they have a few. They've got one before the in-season tournament, two. I forgot to color code them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They have 13 left. That was a quick count. I may have gotten that wrong. So I guess you can say we know Joel Embiid is going to miss 13 games. And then the rest of the time, how do you know what's going to happen? How do you know? You don't. Joel Embiid missing 13 games is better than a guy ranked around 40th not missing those 13 games. Joel Embiid missing 13 games is not better than a guy ranked around 20th not missing those 13 games. So you're not going to trade Embiid for who's a star name near there, like Donovan Mitchell. You're going to keep Donovan Mitchell, and you're going to hope that he doesn't have any injury stuff like he had in previous years. Although if the Cavs are winning, 90% of their ball games, he's going to get some rest days. Anthony Edwards is in that 20 to 30 range. You're probably going to keep Anthony Edwards over Embiid right now. But almost all the names beyond 30, for me, it's almost 100% Embiid. Almost 100%. There might be 1, 2, 3 names beyond 30 that I would say, maybe I'll go this guy. But like the other 150, and obviously you're not going to go down that far, but almost everybody else, I'm going Embiid. And people are going to be like, Dan, it's because you play in a Roto Games Cap format. All right, Roto Games Cap format, I'll go even higher. This I'm talking about head-to-head. 3 games of Embiid in a given week is better than 4 of the guys ranked 35 slots behind him. That's just the way the math works out. And so the hatred of Embiid and how he acts and his missed games and all that stuff and like the negative publicity going on with it, shoving a reporter and getting called out by Maxey and blah, 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 and on and on and on and on and on. I get it. I understand it. I don't really like the way he plays basketball lately anyway. I remember going to watch Embiid play. It was in LA and it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I believe it was pre-COVID. And the moves he was doing, like to actually go score a bucket, were amazing. My brain exploded at the quickness of a man of his size. And now he just dives into people. He's quicker than the guys guarding him, so he just dives into them and he gets foul calls. Because, they are fouls, but like, it's boring. It's an annoying way to watch basketball. Okay, I get it. I understand. But we can't care about that. Fantasy basketball is a math game. The math says you take Embiid in a lot of these scenarios. Let's go through the boxes at a pretty good clip because we actually covered some of the biggest things I wanted to talk about on today's show. Oops, I was scrolling. You guys caught me mid-scroll. As far as the Pelicans go, we already talked about Elfrid Payton. Antonio Reeves took 25 shots in 40 minutes yesterday, and I don't think that's going to happen again. But we'll keep an eye on it. Brandon Boston is on a shooting slump for the ages, and that's to be expected because he's not that great of a basketball player, and he's being thrust into a primary role. He's a guy I'm still holding on to because of the intensely high usage, and at some point it'll sort of level itself off, and then you'll get some big ball games. Yves Missi, we talked about on a stash show yesterday. He ain't playing enough for it to be relevant right now. Keep an eye on Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. Keep an eye on Javonte Green. But I'm expecting Trey Murphy and hopefully Ingram back very, very soon, and that'll blow up whatever you saw in this ball game. Cavaliers, you can just dump the box here. Darius Garland rested. They got the starters yanked by halftime pretty much. And if your starter had a game before that, meaning I'm looking at you, Jared Allen, congratulations, because the other ones sort of did not. But put Ty Jerome in the back of your brain for the next time the Cavs rest one of their backcourt. Chicago at Milwaukee. This was one of those games where Zach LaVine was kind of the whole offense for the Bulls. And when they're good everybody's putting up these giant popcorn numbers, and when they're not, it can get a little bit bleh. No Patrick Williams. So Torrey Craig played 28 fill-in minutes. He's actually not a bad fantasy play on a team that plays fast and moves the ball. So would I play Torrey Craig if Patrick Williams misses another one? Honestly, I might. He's right on the borderline. He's like a half burger. Bucks got 41 from Giannis. Perhaps you've heard of him. He's pretty good, but he can't make a free throw. Holy mackerel, Dan. Brook Lopez. That's how you say his name. Not Brook. I was switching first letters of names. I was going to call him Look Lopez. 21 points, 3 steals, a block. I mean, he's on a furious run right now. So Brook, who was a buy low when he was shooting 39%, now he's a little bit of a sell high because he's going offensively buck wild. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, and Bobby Portis is not going to be a top 100 guy. But you know what? Who cares? Because if you drafted him, you did it at like 130. And if you didn't, he's a schedule play. And then he's a very clear plug-and-play guy anytime Brook Lopez or Giannis misses a ball game. But that hasn't happened very much so far this year. It will at some point. Probably not super soon unless they have to, because the Bucks are off to a slow start. They're starting to win a few now. But they got to get back into better positioning in the standings before they can start to think about missed ball games. I think Giannis has only missed 1. So that's why you haven't seen a whole lot out of Portis yet. And he'll do more in those scenarios. I'm not interested in A.J. Green. I know he had a decent ball game here, but he ain't shooting 6 out of 9 most days. And the big 3-pointers was the reason he got to play a little bit more. And while the fantasy line looks a little bit better, you're back to just Dame, Giannis, and Brook. Philly, we talked about a good amount so far. No Paul George means you're going to get a lot of Jared McCain, who played 41 minutes in this game yesterday. 20 points, 5 assists. He doesn't do much besides score and hit a lot of free throws at a good clip, which is a theme in Philadelphia. That's going to be a really difficult team to stop at the foul line. But you can obviously keep streaming McCain, because now with Paul George out, he's going to get plenty of shots. Tyrese Maxey is going to ramp up to starters minutes. I don't think you can buy low on him since he's back now, but you could try. I just don't think it's going to work. Caleb Martin, you can probably move on from, although, I mean, who knows? He might do just barely enough. Nah. Move on. Memphis confuses me. I'll be honest. Every time we get to Memphis and I'm recapping games, I'm like, can't I just skip this stupid thing? JJJ and Desmond Bane are obvious yeses, all right? That's the easy part. The hard part is literally everyone else. At some point, Marcus Smart will recover from his cold, and at some point, Ja Morant will recover from his injury, and then things will get fairly simple again. But in the meantime, Scottie Pippen's been trending down pretty hard, despite the fact that there are 2 point guard type players out for the Grizzlies. So I think we can probably kind of put a pin in the Scottie Pippen stream. Santi Aldama has been better the last 2 ball games. I think that's Marcus Smart related. So maybe you stream Aldama while Smart is out. But look, sometimes, and I know that this is sort of like the cheap way out, sometimes it's okay to just throw your hands up and say, I don't give up. And that's kind of what I'm doing with Memphis. I'm basically saying I don't want anything to do with the fringe guys on this team. And I know Zach Edey's out as well. That's been a boon for Aldama. So I guess if Edey and Smart and Ja are all out, then there's enough big man minutes around for Aldama to probably do enough. And so call him like a half burger. And Scottie Pippen is a 0 burger. And the rest of these guys are a feh. I don't care. So let's just move on, because I just don't even want to have to deal with it. Lazy, whatever. When a team won't really show you what they are on a night-to-night basis, then you're rolling the dice too much. Scoot got himself hurt in this ball game. Quad contusion, as you guys can see on your screen, is the official ruling. We'll see. Probably misses a game or 2. There's kind of no reason for Portland to push anyone, which is a shame because he actually finally had like a pretty good punt line yesterday with 8 assists. What does it mean for Portland? Well, they're still waiting on Anthony Simons. They're still waiting on DeAndre Ayton. And in the meantime, things are, I don't know, at times almost a little bit fun. Say what you will, But with all these guys out, Tumani Kamara's gone back to being playable. Donovan Clingan is playable. Missed a bunch of free throws, but we knew that number was coming down. He was at 80% this year, and he was a 60%er basically in college. Worse, actually. Delano Banton probably gets enough shots in volume type leagues to be usable if both Simons and Scoot are out. The Time Lord I love as the backup center. He wasn't as good in this ball game, but I truly don't care. And then Shaedon Sharpe, I'm going to say the same thing I've said for like 9 consecutive episodes of this show. He's a punt field goal guy. He had 21 points. That's good. He had 4 threes. That's good. Took him 16 shots to get there and 6 turnovers. Not so good. Roto, he'll break you. Punt head-to-head builds. He can be relatively useful. And then Jeremy Grant. Anytime he has a game this good or better, 14-7 with a couple of steals, you try to sell him because, you don't need the because. Jalen Williams with another earth-shattering line, 30 points, 7 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 5 3-pointers, 58% shooting, made all of his free throws. He is number 8, and he is basically in a dead heat with Steph Curry and Jason Tatum. One more good ball game, and Jalen Williams is going to be number 6 in 9-cat. Absurd. We knew he was going to be good, but oh my God. Shea continues to rumble along, and Alex Caruso finally hit some damn buckets and then hurt his hip. And we don't know what's going to happen with that one. That's a damn shame because if Caruso gets going, maybe you see the minutes trend up for Caruso. Lou Dort, 0 for 7 shooting. I mean, we knew the luster was going to come. The shine on Lou Dort was going to come off eventually. He's dropping back around where we expected. Steals and blocks are still a little bit higher than predicted. The percentages are now much closer to what we thought they would be. So what is Dort? Probably, 100-ish range, maybe a little bit worse than that. If you wanted to try to squeeze a little bit more out of him, you could, but I think, unofficially, officially, I think I'm done. I think the heater on Lou Dort is officially over. Yeah, I'm good with that. But of course, the big story in this game, not the fact that Jalen Williams is a mid-first rounder. The big story in this game is that Isaiah Hartenstein made his return. We already talked about that during the opener. It's gonna be awesome. Indiana cannot win a road game because apparently Tyrese Halliburton can't sleep in hotel beds. He's becoming the new Derek Favors at this point. We've heard these rumblings that he's dealing with a lower back injury, but apparently it's fine when he's sleeping in his home mattress. There's a couple of things you can do with this. My take is still buy low because I have enough confidence in Halliburton and modern medicine that they're going to get this thing sorted out at some point somehow. Like they'll figure out a way to change where he's sleeping on the road. They'll figure out something he can do at night to help with this, some way to stay loose on road trips. Maybe it's the flights, whatever. Like they're going to try stuff until something works. So I still think it's a buy low. The other way you could do it, if you're real wheeler dealer type, is buy him when the Pacers are on a road trip, sell him when the Pacers are at home. Because, well, what are they right now? This is, what the hell's today? November 21st? Yeah. Pacers are in the middle of a 3-game roadie. Presumably, if this stuff holds, he'll be bad again tomorrow in Milwaukee. Then they got 4 home games. So buy him before this Milwaukee game or right after. I don't care. And then see if he pops off the first 2-3 home games of their 4-game homestand, and then try to sell him. Because they got another home game, they got 4 home games, and then they're back out on the road for 4. They have a really good schedule for this type of plan, if that's the kind of thing you're into. But, I mean, that takes a lot of work, and not all of us have the time for that. Quentin Jackson got the start. No Nesmith still, no Shepherd as well. I think Jarris Walker played through a cold or something in this game. So Pacers are trying some stuff, and Jackson played well, but he ain't going to shoot 10 for 12 on a night-to-night basis. You guys know that. So you're not picking him up. TJ McConnell, I kind of accidentally streamed yesterday. I planned on streaming him when I learned that Shepherd was out. And then I thought, Are we getting a little bit too hairy with this? Well, luckily he had a pretty good game despite the only 19 minutes. I need McConnell to get up to like 22, 23 for me to feel confident about it. So I don't think I'm going to do that again. And then stick with Mathurin because they'll be better in the next one. This game also ended relatively early. Rockets with a big blowout. Tari Eason, 6 steals. Freddie VanVleet, another solid game. He's now a top 40 fantasy play. So he's officially, what is he now? 3 slots away from being a third rounder. We told you. Jabari Smith Jr. finally had a better ball game. I believe, and I said it on the last show, I think he's going to be a filler level guy this year. So between like 110 and 140. Do with that as you see fit. You could drop him. You could play him. I don't care. Hold on to Amen Thompson. I know this is a real bad one, but we got a good Jabari Smith Jr. game, and that turned out to be enough. I'm a little surprised we didn't see more Thompson down the stretch, but anyway, it is what it is, and you're holding on. Atlanta got blown out. The shine has come off this team a little bit, but they are starting to work some pieces back in, and that's probably, at least long-term, a good thing. Dyson Daniels, 0 defensive stats. Come on, we all knew that the most insane run in the history of modern steals was not going to last forever. But Jalen Johnson was back, so that's good. DeAndre Hunter got up to 25 minutes. That's a good thing. Bogdan got up to 23 minutes and 14 shots, most importantly. That's a good thing. So a lot of good wrapped up in a 23-point blowout loss for the Hawks in this one. I'm still not doing anything with the centers. Capella won the center battle in this one. I don't care. Onyeka Okongwu hit 2 3-pointers in this game. That was something. Larry Nance didn't play. They've gone back to 2 centers instead of 3. It's still messy. It's still annoying. I still don't think I want to deal with it. Risa Shea has been supplanted by the veterans, DeAndre Hunter, and Bogdan Bogdanovic, so there really isn't enough for him. And we talked about this on the stash show. He's going to be a huge pain in the butt to try to stash through the All-Star break. And then there will be some fun after that, but that's still 3 months away. 3 months is a long time, people. I would make sure that DeAndre Hunter is rostered. I would make sure that Bogdan Bogdanovic is rostered. Those guys are trending up. And with them, Dyson Daniels probably trending down a little bit. Hopefully not too much, but a little bit. Trae Young will probably have to do less. Jalen Johnson will probably have to do a little bit less. And that's okay. For the Warriors, they got a big one out of Andrew Wiggins, which is good because he'd been pretty quiet for a while. This pushed him back up right near the edge of the top 100, and the bouncing back and forth is probably going to be a season-long theme for Wiggins. When he's hot, it's good. When he's not, it's not. That'll probably balance him out to like an upper-level filler kind of guy. Steph, you're playing. Draymond, you're playing. Someone's trying to convince me to pick up Lindy Waters. I'm not going to be doing that. I am going to be continually telling you to drop Brandon Pajemski. He's just not. He's not the guy that they tried to advertise him to be, and we kind of called their bluff on that one. And then Buddy Hield. The Warriors have figured out that Buddy Hield's not that great at basketball, but he is a good shooter, and when he gets hot, they're going to let him cut it loose. And right now, he's not. So it's kind of this back and forth. Would I hold on to Hield? Probably yes, if only because we know what the good can look like when it happens. Like he went nuts to start the year. And then he's cooled because like that's what NBA players do. But when he gets warm again, you'll see those minutes trend back up and then he'll be playable. If you dropped him, someone else would probably add him. That's my fear, and I don't want you guys to miss out on the next heater. And in the meantime, he's probably going to be just barely okay enough to slip through. Jalen Brunson's had 2 really nice ones in a row. Kind of knew that those were coming. Like, you guys know I'm not super high on Brunson, but also there was no way he was going to be a top 90 guy this year, not taking 18 shots a ball game. And that's the thing. Like, our calculation on Brunson, he took 21 shots in this one. Great. That's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes it's going to be 16. Is last year he was a top 20 guy when he was taking about 22 shots a game. He was a top 15 guy when he was taking like 25 shots a game. But there was absolutely no way he was going to average that number with Cat and Bridges and Anunoby all around again. And right now the Knicks are extraordinarily thin. So this is like basically as good as it's going to get for all 5 starters. You could say, oh, Dan, these guys can keep this up. Okay, I mean, maybe, but I don't think they want to have to. That's the important note in this. Not that they can't, but the Knicks are 9-6. It's not a great start to the year, but in the very weak Eastern Conference, it's perfectly solid. That's the 3 seed at 9-6. I believe that would be the 5 seed in the Western Conference. So the top heavy stuff, it plays both ways. But like the Knicks are going to play a lot of games against sub 500 teams because 70% of the Eastern Conference is sub 500. The Heat, the Pistons, the Hawks, the Nets, the Pacers, the Bucks, the Bulls, the Hornets, the Raptors, the Wizards, the 76ers, all of those teams are under 500 right now. The Knicks don't want to have to play Josh freaking Hart 40 minutes a ball game or Bridges 40 minutes a ball game. These guys need to take a little bit of a load off. And there's a little bit of good news on that front. Cam Payne is playing a little better. Miles McBride, they're hoping to have back pretty soon. Precious Achiuwa, they're hoping to get back pretty soon. By the way, keep an eye on Achiuwa. Like, he might actually play 26, 27 minutes, given the lack of depth on this team. He may get all of the backup center minutes, which is good for fantasy, as we've talked about, regardless of the name of the player involved. Playing center is good for your fantasy value. And then someone like a Jericho Sims gets retired until Mitchell Robinson shows up. Then you kind of push everybody down the board to a different position on the floor. But as they get healthy, they're not going to want their starters playing 40 minutes a game. They're going to want that number down in the mid-30s instead of 40. And fantasy numbers come down when you play less. Your fantasy numbers are smaller. Phoenix was competitive in this one. Oso Ighodaro was not. So after that little one-day blip, the Suns were like, nah, we are going to go Royce O'Neal after all. So Royce goes back to being the Kevin Durant fill-in guy. By the way, KD is set to be reevaluated in 2 days. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully he's not out for much longer beyond that. It sounds like he's trying to make a return early next week. So that would be very good. We don't have an update on Bradley Beal, however. But if KD comes back, I don't know that I would play O'Neal anymore. I certainly wouldn't play Ryan Dunn. I'm not playing him anyway. Devin Booker, I wouldn't say enjoying the extra usage, but from a numbers standpoint, the numbers are enjoying it. Nurk came back, so Mason Plumlee is dead to rights again. Nurk had a good ball game from a numbers standpoint, but can't guard anyone. The Suns have some stuff to work out that can be papered over when Kevin Durant is healthy. But you can see, when KD's out, this is a bad basketball team. That's fair, right? I don't think that's being mean. I think they've won 1 game without him. They're a bad team without Kevin Durant. A lot of teams would be. This is going to get Nurk re-added in a lot of spots if he was dropped, and that's fine. He'll go on little spurts like this. Overall, he's been top 200 range, so I'm not too worried about it either way. And then Tyus Jones had a good ball game as well. Last one on the docket from yesterday, Orlando lost at the Clippers. They slowed down Franz Wagner, and that pretty much slowed down the Magic. I don't know that the Lakers are going to be able to slow down anyone with the defense they play, but you'll go Franz, you'll go Suggs, you'll go Goga as long as he's the starting center. I know he got spanked in this one, but they might also get Wendell Carter Jr. back today. He was questionable yesterday and then was ruled out. He's questionable today, and I wonder if maybe they were just like, we'll play you on the second half of the back-to-back. Looking at the Magic schedule, how does that pair up? Well, it gives them 2 days off. Yeah, I mean, it gave them an extra day off. If they play yesterday, then they'd have 2 off before Detroit. So there isn't much that changes there. We'll see. He might play, he might not. I'd still call it a true coin flip. And then Jonathan Isaac played 22 minutes again. I know this line doesn't jump off the page at you, but 2 3-pointers and 3 blocks, that plays almost no matter what else you do in a ball game. And he didn't do much else, mind you, because, the 6 points, that was all he scored. He had 3 rebounds, no assists, no steals. But I'm holding on to Jonathan Isaac in Games Cap Roto formats. That's 4 straight games he's played 20 minutes or more. And 20 minutes or more, he's a top 100 guy. I know it's nuts, but that's the magic of Jonathan Isaac. For the Clippers, I'm done with Chris Dunn. Done with Dunn. The shame of it, too, is that he's part of all of their most winningest lineups, but he's just not doing anything with his time on the floor. He had 5 turnovers, 3 boards, 3 assists, and 1 steal. The turnovers have to be very low, and we need more assists and more steals, and it just hasn't really been there. So, oh well. And if any game, it should have been easier to do something, it would have been this one because there was no Norman Powell. Clippers are playing some pretty damn good defense these days, which somehow does include James Harden, who still can't hit a shot or stop turning the basketball over. He needs help. I know it's nice to be the only guy for putting up popcorn numbers, but Harden needs Kawhi back, who it sounds like is inching closer. We're probably still a few weeks away, but at least we got some kind of okay update. No, I'm not picking up Derek Jones. I'm not picking up Amir Coffey. I'm definitely not picking up Kevin Porter Jr. I'm not picking up Jordan Miller. I don't care about all of these things. It's back to just Harden, Zubats, and then Norm when healthy. And there you go. That's your recap show. We got a little hot and cold action coming up next on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, so stay tuned for that episode. For now, hit that subscribe button on the way out, you jerks. I'm kidding. I love you guys. Follow on Twitter at Dan Vespris. Follow on Blue Sky at Old Man Squad. Like, rate, and subscribe before you close out the window, and we'll be back in an hour and change with a hot and cold mega show, lightning round super show here on this same feed. That's why you got to subscribe. See you shortly, everybody.